good.
So I'm gonna look, we're not here. Yeah, I'm gonna look at all y'all. I'm just gonna, so I'll give a statement and update, right? And then I'll let you ask questions and everything else, right? All right, so Assistant Chief Charles Walker, WALKER. So early this morning, the fire department was called out here for a building collapse that we found. We were in the process of doing our initial search and rescue where we were able to pull 2 people from this location. We transported 2 female individuals to the hospital. One is stable, one is in critical condition at the time. In the process of conducting our secondary search, after we brought in our search dog actually had an alert for an area within the collapse. After pulling through some of the rubble, we were able to find that we actually did have enough victims that was in the collapse. It was also determined that that victim at that point had deceased in the collapse. So there was no recovery or rescue effort that was being made at that time. This has been a very critical scene in regards to safety, in regards to our people. We have set up some technical equipment that our Special Operations Unit uses to monitor shifts in movement in property when we've had collapses. We wanted to ensure that there would be no secondary collapses that would injure any of these first responders that were out here today helping out in this situation. We have the utility companies, PECO, the gas company, they're all on scene. PECO is in the process of isolating the electric. They turned the electric off in the area as well as the gas supply to make things safe for all of us while we continue to work. They're in the process of trying to isolate the outage so that the rest of the residents on the block and in the area are not affected by it. So hopefully in a short amount of time, anyone who is without service should be restored. We will be continuing to work here to assess the property and the other area and other properties around it. We have LNI and the Office of Emergency Management that are in the process of taking over this operation because they have heavy equipment out here that's going to start to actually pine through the rubble and clear this debris. Fire department assets will remain on scene to assist with that operation just to make sure that there's no fire or anything like that still burning underneath, as well as our EMS will be on scene as the safety component. So that's pretty much where we are right now. So I'll take your question.
Have the victims been able to provide any kind of statements at this point? Have you guys spoken with any witnesses to maybe find out what exactly happened?
The only thing we have now is basically what we have earlier from most of the residents on is that they heard a loud boom, and then the aftermath is what they found with the collapse of this property. So we don't know what caused the loud sound. We don't know if the loud sound came from the properties collapsing or if it came from something else, but that's still part of the investigation at this time.
Is it protocol to do a secondary search, or is it protocol to do a secondary search, or do you guys have suspicion that there was possibly somebody in there?
No, it's protocol to do a secondary search in the fire service all the time. The initial search is very rapid, very quick, so that we can look for life that is viable, that we can, look to sustain. And then after things tend to calm down, we can get into a more intricate search. In collapse situations, we like to bring in the dogs because they are trained for just that, and they can sense under rubble where we can't see with our human eye.
Now this third victim, can you tell us anything about them, male, female, age, approximate?
The third victim that we found was an adult, elderly female victim. That's all I have right now as far as name and age or anything of that fact in regards to who we found.
Do you believe anyone else in the rubble at this time? Is anyone else unaccounted for?
At this time, our dog has not had a hit on any other areas in the collapse. So right now we feel confident that we have found pretty much everyone who's there. Based on what neighbors have told us, the woman lived alone, she was elderly, so we don't believe that anyone else was in the property. But we will continue to search. That's a process. Anything is possible.
How does the investigation move forward?
How many homes impacted from this?
We have a total of 3 homes that actually came down and collapsed. And there's an additional property that was adjacent to those 3 properties that collapsed that is in dire straits. But that property was said to be vacant prior to this whole event. So, I mean, it has cracks and different things running through the brick. So it's not sound or stable at all as well.
Where does the investigation go from here, and how long may it take to figure out what exactly caused this?
Well, the investigation will take as long as it takes, but we want to do it in a safe and methodical way. The people who come in our teams in the fire marshal's office, along with ATF and the other agencies that assist us in these type of things, they have a system and methodical way where it's a slow approach. When you have a collapse, you have to be very, very careful about rushing into moving anything, because you can create a secondary collapse that it can create another problem. So we'll take the time that we need to get things done and to do it safely.
Are evacuations still in place on this block, and you also have safety risk for people who live here?
Right now, we have evacuated everyone who was adjacent to, who was in immediate danger from the collapse. The only thing that's hindering any of the residents currently could be the fact that their utilities might be out of service. So as far as, we haven't restricted anyone from coming back to their property at this point.
Any history of calls or issues at these properties that might give you insight into what would have caused this?
There's no tracking history for this particular block of any problems that might have led to this particular situation today. So once again, we'll be investigating all of that.
And while residents heard a loud boom, you guys are not for sure certain that there was any kind of explosion that could have caused this?
We can't confirm anything at this point. That's part of what our fire marshals will determine as they go through the rubble and look for signs or causes of any type of fire or anything else that could have happened here today.
Now, of course, throughout the whole morning, we've seen people in the community that have been here that have concerns. What is your message to them, especially coming back home after something like this happens?
Well, you know, when you come in, when something like this happens on your block, it shakes you. It makes you start to wonder about your own property and your own safety. I would tell you, one, we have the normal emergencies in regards to, you know, if you smell gas, you're calling 911. If you have an electrical problem, or you're experiencing an electrical problem, the lights flickering, or things that seem odd or unusual, that you will call 911 to have it investigated. I mean, you're going to use the same sense of security measures that you would any other time. If you see or hear or smell something that seems unusual, then get on the phone, call 911. Let someone else that's trained in something come out to reassure you that you don't have an actual or major emergency.
Can you just temporary shelter, how long will that be available to these neighbors?
I'm sorry, say that
The
question.
temporary shelter, how long would that be available to the neighbors?
The temporary shelter will be stood up as long as it needs to be up in order to neighbors to be able to come back and get to their homes comfortably. Office of Emergency Management normally runs that, and they take care of that aspect to make sure that we have long care, aftercare from emergencies for our community. So that's the Office of Emergency Management. They handle that, and they do a good job at it.
And can you just explain what the scene first looks like when your team arrived? Was there fire? Could you explain what it looks like here?
So when the initial crews pulled up, they had immediately seen, of course, smoke in the area, and they had little to no fire actually showing. They just had more of the collapse scene. It wasn't until after they started working on the pile and digging through the pile, they started to uncover a little bit more fire, which produced a little bit more smoke. But they were able to actually put hose lines on that to mitigate that fire from growing or expanding to any degree. So in terms of fire, it wasn't a large amount of fire, but they did have some fire. It was mainly the collapse situation that they came upon that they were dealing with.
And my apologies, you said 3 row homes?
3 total residential row homes that were involved in this collapse.
And they're
all totally down right now.
And my last thing would be, are you guys going to continue to dig through the rubble, search through the debris for any other potential people that could be in there?
Well, the dog has went through the debris, so we feel confident about the dog's sense and its skills to locate or determine whether or not there was a human life factor inside the pile. We will remain here as L&I pulls the debris apart, because, you know, there's other hazards that you might encounter between electrical. It might be gas lines. It could be anything that could still spark or have fire. It could be fire burning somewhere under the debris. So we will be here to make sure that we extinguish or put that out as needed.
anything else you want people to take away? Obviously, a tragedy here this morning in Nicetown.
I'm sorry, say that again.
Anything else you want people to take away? Obviously, a tragedy here in Nicetown this morning.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate tragedy and happened in the wee hours of the morning. Sundays are tend to be very calm and a peaceful time, but this can be disruptive and disturb people. But for the neighbors to lean on their other neighbors in the community and, you know, be there for them, that's probably the key message right now, because they're in need and for support. And if you could be there for them, that'll be something great.
Thank you so much.
All right.